Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. And we are very proud to present to you our very first episode of the Meat for the Grinder. So this is our little miniature campaign that we're doing. It's kind of like a little mini occupation phase for our Dominion campaign. And the reason why is because we added 2 more gangs to our current campaign. Iron Major, who's actually a buddy of mine who actually built all the terrain that you see in each of our battle reports, he wanted to try out Necromunda and he wanted to play a corpse grinder cult. So how do you say no to the guy who builds your terrain, right? So because we added him as well, we've also added a second gang, a gang of slave Ogryns. That's played with my buddy Smells Like Febreze, and she'll be playing those guys. And since we have 2 new gangs joining up inside of our campaign, we decided to take the settlement territories that are on our campaign map and replace them with 9 brand new territories. And so for rounds 9 and 10 of our campaign, we're having these gangs just kind of fight it out in a battle royale style to see who can actually grab the most territory within that short period of time. So this is actually battle report number 47 of our Dominion campaign, but the very first one of our little Meat for the Grinder campaign as well. And this one is a standout scenario. It's fought between Iron Major as well as myself. Iron Major is bringing the Prophets of Rage, a corpse grinder cult, and I'm bringing the Jury of House Cawdor. So we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're taking for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So the scenario rule of this one is called Standoff. For crews, both sides get a custom selection of 10 fighters apiece, and of course you get 1 tactic card for each 100 point of difference between the gangs. In this case, because of the 10 guys I selected, it's only about 100 points of difference in gang rating between my gang as well as the Prophets of Rage, because that Iron Major gets 1 additional gang tactic on this one. The play for this one is standard deployment. The objective is to put as many enemy fighters out of action as possible. You earn 3 victory points for taking out leaders, 2 victory points for champions, as well as 1 victory point for everyone else. And whoever has the most victory points by the end of the battlefield actually wins the scenario. For the rewards, for credits, the winner earns D6 times 10 credits, while the loser receives D3 times 5 credits. In the case of a draw, both gangs receive D6 times 5 credits. For experience, each gang member receives 1 experience point for participating, and the winning gang leader earns an additional bonus experience point as well. For reputation, whoever gang manages to win earns 2 points reputation. And since both gangs are fighting each other for the very first time, both gangs receive 1 point of extra reputation, and if anybody bottles out, they lose 1 point of reputation as well. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x4 table of Zone Mortalis tiles on this one. It's a huge Zone Mortalis battlefield. My friend Iron Major is deployed in the bottom left-hand corner, while I'm deployed in the far right-hand corner of the battlefield as well. And you can see a couple of his fighters have kind of infiltrated through as well for that part. As for the tactics on this one, pretty much my tactic is twofold. One, I want to try to take out his initiates as quickly as possible. In case you're not aware, Corpse Grinder Cults are actually divided amongst 2 types of fighters. They have close combat element fighters as well as their shooting elements. Their shooting elements are represented by their initiates. They're kind of like juvies, except they can use whatever weapons they want to for range attacks. So because of that, my plan is to destroy those guys, because those guys have already infiltrated into the battlefield. So once I take those guys out, then my goal, of course, is just kind of surround and swarm the rest of the close combat elements and then shoot those guys to pieces. That's pretty much the plan I have kind of going for this one. I plan on maneuvering forces along the top of the map there, so that way I can flank around the top and then send my forces down the middle as well, so that way I can engage them and shooting an assault and hopefully destroy them that way. And that's pretty much the plan I'm kind of going on with this one. Corpse Grinder Cults are notoriously good at close combat, but not so great at range combat, and I'm going to try to do that to my advantage as well. So with the battle plan over, let's go talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so starting off with the Prophets of Rage over here in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, if you guys notice, these guys are actually proxy miniatures. These are actually Khorne Bloodbound I believe they're called Blood Reavers, I believe is what they're called, for the most part. And the reason why is because we're proxying them. Iron Major didn't feel like buying a whole box set of Corpse Grinder miniatures for this one, and since this channel is called Commander Cheapskate, I have no problem allowing proxies to take place in it as well. So if you don't like the proxies, well, too bad, that's how we roll. So on the left-hand side there, on the very far left-hand side, that is the eightfold Harvest Lord. He is a special character, Dramatis Personae. He's actually a bounty hunter. He's equipped with Butcher's Mask, Plate Mail, paired heavy chain cleavers. He's got Fighting Knife as well as a Corpse Grinder cult icon. He's got the Avatar of Blood, Killing Blow, Slaughterborn, as well as Bounty Hunter special rules attached to him. Over on the right-hand side, that is a cutter for this gang. His name is Dredge Borsha. He's got a Cutter's Mask, Plate Mail, Rotary Flinching Saw, Cult Icon, Frenzy Skill, as well as a Dervish Skill. Right there in the front, that guy with the horn, that is Ogryn Dramnir is his name. He's got over the Squinter's Mask, he's got Plate Armor, paired Butcher's Chain Cleavers, he's got the Specialist as well as Berserker Charge skill. And right next to him on the right-hand side, that is Vos Hadun. Vos Hadun is got a Skinner's Mask as well. He's also got Plate Mail, paired Butcher's Chain Cleavers. He's also got the Specialist skill as well as the Berserker skill. And then finally in the back there, that is Sever Greel. He's a Butcher. He's the gang leader for this one. He's got a Butcher's Mask, Plate Mail, two-handed axe. He's got a Corpse Grinder cult icon, Commanding Presence ability, as well as First Into the Fray special rule. And that pretty much makes up deployment on this one. Alright, and this photo is two members of his initiates. I believe the guy there on the bottom is Killing with a Maul. He's initiates armed with Butcher's Mask. He's got a flak armor, Stug Gun, Dum Dum Rounds, a Flinching Knife, as well as Infiltrate. And right next to him is Varsk Ilvek. He is another initiate. He's got Initiate's Mask, flak armor. He's got a Stug Gun, Dum Dum Rounds, as well as a Chain Glaive. He's also got the Infiltrate special rule as well. And that pretty much makes the deployment here in the center. And finally, over here on the top of the screen, on the bottom, the right down smack down in the middle, his name is Banner the Eld. He's an Initiate. He's got Initiate Mask, flak armor. He's packing a heavy hand flamer. He's also got a Stub Gun with Dum Dum Rounds, as well as frag grenades. He's also got the Infiltrate special rule. And then, of course, right next to him are Krolla Ilvek and Dran Ilvek. Krolla Ilvek is equipped with an Initiate's Mask, flak armor, Stub Gun with Dum Dum Rounds, frag grenades. He's also got a Flinching Knife and Initiate skill. And then right next to him is Dran Ilvek. He's also got Initiate's Mask, flak armor, Stub Gun, Dum Dum Rounds, frag grenades, Butcher's Cleaver. He's also got the Infiltrate skill as well. And that pretty much makes up the deployment for the entirety of the Prophets of Rage. Alright, so now it's time for the jury. Now, as you can see, my entire gang is located there in the top right-hand corner. Over on the left-hand side, that is Reptile. That's one of my Jubes. He's got flak armor, Stub Gun, Dum Dum Rounds, Maul, as well as frag grenades. Right next to him is Dark Side, is a ganger equipped with flak armor. He's got a bolt gun, a sawed-off shotgun, as well as a Maul. Right next on the right-hand side, that is VR. It's another one of my gangers. He's got flak armor, twin reclaimed auto pistols, as well as a strip kit. Right behind him in the back there, sorry, not in the back, right there on the right-hand side, that is Mondo. Mondo is a ganger who's equipped with flak armor, a reclaimed auto gun. He's also got a Maul, and he's also got a hand injury as well. And right behind VR right there is Lemonhead. Lemonhead is my champion. He's also got mesh armor. He's got a combo weapon, which is a reclaimed auto gun with a flamer. He's also got a Maul, as well as a rain of blows ability. Right there in the middle, that is Master Blaster, my Stig Shambler. He's equipped with flak armor, pole arm, as well as twin-linked heavy stubber. He's got the intelligent control as well as move and shoot skills. Right next on the right-hand side is Scorpion, is another ganger armed with a flak armor. He's got reclaimed auto gun Maul, and he's also kind of recovering from his lessons learned injury that he had. Right there on the right-hand side is Stubber. He's one of my champions. He's got mesh armor, heavy stubber with Spencer on it. He's got a drop brig, a Maul, as well as a hurl skill. And right next on the right-hand side is Tetsuo, is another one of my Juvies. He's got flak armor, reclaimed auto gun, stub gun with Dum Dum Rounds, as well as a Maul. And behind them is Sorter, my ganger's armed with a flak armor. He's packing a long rifle, as well as a reclaimed auto pistol. He's got a Maul, as well as a drop rig. And that makes my deployment for this one. Alright, so for my very first activation, we go directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Cawdor. So I managed to get the initiative on this one, which is all kinds of awesome. And as you can see in this photo, basically pretty much what I do, I just kind of move up both Reptile as well as Lemonhead. They move double movement over to the left-hand side, heading down that corridor, making their way directly to the Brothers Ilvek for the Prophets of Rage. Meanwhile, over here on the far side of the screen, my friend Iron Major decides to activate his leader, Sever Greel, who uses Commanding Presence ability. He also activates Ogryn Dramnir as well as Fast Hadun, his two Skinners, and those three guys, of course, do double movement across the battlefield, heading directly down the center of the battlefield. Meanwhile, then activate VR. As you can see here, VR kind of slips past Tetsuo as well as Lemonhead, doing a double movement already directly into the middle of the darkened corridor, taking point with his twin auto pistols. And of course, Iron Maiden activates the Eightfold Harvest Lord, which is his bounty hunter, who also does a group activation with Dredge Borsha, the Cutter. And once again, they also do a double movement, catching with the rest of Sever Greel, as well as his two Skinners as well. For my next activation, then activate Mondo, who does a double movement along the top of the board on the far top flank, heading directly towards the Brothers Ilvek, kind of supporting VR, as well as Tetsuo and Lemonhead. And at the same time, I believe that is Krola Ilvek is his name. He's actually one of the initiates. He actually does a double move, but also moving up right next to that slag furnace, and at the same time just kind of covering the entrance there, making his way directly towards my gang. So for my next activation, they activate Dark Side. He does a dual movement up to the right-hand side, falling right behind Mondo. And right behind them, Dran Ilvek also moves up next, doing a double movement right behind his brother Krola Ilvek, right next to that slag furnace, right smack dab in the middle of the battlefield. From there, I then activate Reptile, who does a double move all the way up to that broken wall that's on the other side of that slag furnace there, so that way you can start putting some pressure against the Prophets of Rage. At the same time, Varsk Ilvek also does a double move moving around the corner, heading directly towards Mondo as well. If I remember correctly, I believe he tried to charge when he ended up doing, and unfortunately for Iron Mage, he kind of filled his role, so because that just kind of scoots up a couple inches forward, heading directly towards Mondo. So for my next activation, then activate Master Blaster. Master Blaster turns over to the right and actually moves up forward his normal 4-inch rune allowance, and then for his basic action, I decided to have him open fire with his twin-linked heavy stubber directly into Krola Ilvek. Now, Krola Ilvek was the initiate who tries to charge directly into Mondo the last activation, but actually failed to get his charge off. So because I opened up with that twin-linked heavy stubber, managed to get 4 shots, which is pretty awesome as well. Unfortunately, though, I did roll up a ammo roll check for that one, so because of that, he does run out of ammo for right now, and I will need to spend a simple action on my next activation in order to reload that gun. However, with those 4 shots, I did manage to take Krola Ilvek out of action, also putting a feebling injury on him right off the bat. So because of that, he does go into recovery, and he loses 1 point to his toughness, making him only toughness 2 right now, which is actually pretty rough for Initiate to suffer through, considering that he's a close combat-oriented gang. And that pretty much makes up my activation over here on the top of the screen. So, fearing the worst, Iron Mage decides to be a little bit cautious and actually moves up, killing the Maul real quick, so that way he's in that intersection. He's outside of the darkened quarter, but at the same time close enough to react to any jury members that might be coming down his way. So for my next activation, then activate Sorter, who does a double movement along the right-hand side of the battlefield, scooting along that little ledge right there to make his way directly towards the center of the battlefield, so that way he can hook left and hit directly against the Skinners as well as the Butcher from the Prophets of Rage are trying to make their way into the center of the battlefield. And then Iron Major activates Batter the Eld for his last activation. His initiate, he just kind of moves up his normal moon allowance, just kind of hanging out there in the darkened corridor, using the darkness order as cover because that does cause pitch black rules for anything that's inside that area as well. And that pretty much makes up Iron Major's very last activation. And for my very last activation, that activates Stubber, who then does a group activation with Scorpion. Scorpion moves up directly, double movement directly to the center of the battlefield, right behind Reptile, letting him some support. At the same time, also do a double movement with Stubber, heading right behind Sorter as well, so that way they can start making their way directly towards the center of the battlefield. And that pretty much makes up the action phase on this one. And since nobody's injured right now and nobody needs to take battle tests, that pretty much ends turn number 1 for this one. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield at the end of turn number 1. As you can see, I'm starting to put my assault right now with Reptile, Scorpion, as well as Stubber, as well as Sorter, heading down directly towards the middle of the battlefield to where the slag furnace is, as well as that little acidic green pit there on the right hand side. At the same time, I'm also assaulting on the top of the screen using my man Lemonhead, as well as the little 5-man posse, heading to the top of the screen there in order to intercept the initiates there on the top left hand corner of the battlefield as well. While that's occurring, as you can see there, the Iron Mage has most of his forces moving to the center of the battlefield, heading directly towards that bridge, as well as a slag furnace there, and he's got a couple more fighters looking in that darkened corridor, taking cover and just kind of buying his time. So at the end of turn number 1, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and then roll off for initiative to see which one of us has priority. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Cawdor on this one. I managed to get the initiative, and as you can see in this photo, I then activate Reptile. Reptile decides to lob a frag grenade, and it lands directly right behind Dran, as well as Varsk Ilvek, blowing up right in the center of the two of them, hitting them both with that 3-inch blast in play, which is all kinds of awesome because that means with the knockback rules, people will get knocked away from the center of it, which means one of these guys is going exactly inside the blast furnace, which is all kinds of awesome. And as you can see here, basically ends up being the fallout for that action. As you can see on the left-hand side, I believe Dran Ilvek is his name, just kind of gets knocked back an inch and also gets pinned. Varsk Ilvek, however, managed to land right in the middle of the slag pit. He also earns 2 flesh wounds, which is all kinds of bad as well. And if you kind of see as well, you might not be able to see it, but he actually failed his blaze test. So because of that, he does catch on fire, which means he rolls 2d6 inches in a random direction, trying to put the flames out. And unfortunately for him, he ends up moving 7 inches down, straight down directly to where that pit is located at. As you can see there, he just kind of stumbles into the darkness like a giant meteor crashing through the empty skies of empty domes on fire. It basically gets an out cold result as well. So because that Varsk Ilvek, Dran Ilvek is his name, he goes directly out of action, and he skips recovery though because he's just currently stunned with an out cold result for the most part. So in response, Iron Maiden then activates Varskiel Vek, his other initiate, and that guy basically comes out of the darkness as well. He moves up his normal moon allowance of 5 inches and decides to lob a frag grenade, hitting it directly towards Reptile as well as Scorpion. Unfortunate for him though, he misses by an inch. Well, not misses by an inch, he just kind of falls short by an inch. But it doesn't matter though, because the blast template though is enough to catch some of my gangers within the blast radius of the grenade. So as you can see here, the grenade might have just missed him by a little bit by half an inch, but it's enough to capture Reptile within the blast radius of that. So because of that, he does take a strength 3 shrapnel hit directly to his chest, as he's caught within the 3-inch blast radius of Varskiel Vek's grad grenade. So as you can see from this photo, Reptile does get pushed back an inch as well, and he automatically gets pinned. He also suffers a flesh wound for the most part as well. However, to get that grenade throw off though, Varskiel Vek did roll out of ammo on that one, so because he did roll an ammo check, which means he's completely out of frag grenades for the rest of the battle. So because of that, that pretty much makes up Iron Major's turn on that one. So, wanting vengeance for my injured Juve, Scorpion then takes aim with his autogun, taking a basic action to take aim with it, and he opens fire with burst fire directly into Varskiel Vek. Managed to get 3 shots off with his autogun. Not only do all 3 shots manage to hit him, they also manage to wound as well, putting 3 flesh wounds directly onto Varskiel Vek. Because he suffered those 3 flesh wounds, he automatically goes out of action as well. And as you can see on this injury table here, he rolled a grievous injury. So because that, he goes directly into recovery, and he goes out of action as well. And so his part of the battlefield report is now completely over. So for Iron Maiden's next activation, he decides to activate Killing Them All, his other initiate, and because that, he's kind of moves him right directly into the little entrance there between the 2 pillars, directly in front of that blast furnace, taking cover so that he doesn't get shot at, but at the same time getting himself into position to react to anybody that might be coming down that corridor. And for my next activation, that activates Sorter as well as Stubber. Stubber does a group activation with Sorter, and both those guys do double movements all the way down the battlefield, making their way to the entrance there on the far right-hand side of the battlefield, heading directly into the center of the battlefield, so that way they can start engaging the Skinners as well as Butchers that Iron Major has in his gang. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the battlefield, Iron Major then activates the 8-fold Harvest Lord, which is his special character, Bounty Hunter, who then also does a group activate with Dredge Borsha, the cutter for this gang, and they both do a double move directly up the corridor, heading up to the left-hand side of the battlefield, directly towards the top of it. For my activation, I activate Mondo, does a double movement along to the top of the battlefield, heading directly to that corner, getting ready to hook left to start making his way down the left-hand side of the battlefield. And for Iron Major's very last activation, he activates Zever Grill, his Butcher, who then also activates his Skinners, Gar Dramnir, as well as Vos Hadun. And those guys do double movement all the way across the battlefield, directly towards the center, just on this side of that little makeshift bridge there, right smack dab in the middle of the battlefield. And since the rest of the turn is actually dedicated to me, as you can see in this photo, I just kind of remove the rest of my fighters. I move up Limit Head as well as Tetsuo as well as Darkside. They start moving their way as quickly as possible across the battlefield. At the same time, I also managed to reload the Heavy Stubber, Twin-Linked Heavy Stubber that Master Blaster was packing with earlier. So with that being said, that takes us, no one's in the end phase right now because no one's injured. So with that being said, we go directly to the end phase on this one. And that takes us directly to the end of turn number 2. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, my buddy Iron Major, his forces there on the left-hand side of the battlefield are kind of falling back a little bit. His initiates are pretty much getting taken out one by one. So at the same time, he does move up the 8-fold Harvest Lord as well as Dredge Borsha in order to help kind of shore up their defenses there on the left-hand side. While that's occurring, he also has Silver Grill, Dredge, Garn Dramnir, as well as Vos Hadun, his 2 Skinners, as well as his Butcher. They start making their way directly towards the middle of the battlefield. As you can see here as well, I'm also assaulting forward as well, sending Master Blaster as well as Scorpion and Reptile directly down that corridor, moving their way towards the Blast Furnace. At the same time, I got Sorter as well as Stubber moving forward as well. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3, and both Iron Major and I roll off for our priority to see who will be going first. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 3 for the jury. So because of that, the first thing I do, of course, is activate Stubber, who also does a group activation with Sorter as well. Both Stubber and Sorter open up with their long rifle as well as heavy Stubber, respectively, directly into Sever Grill as well as Garn Dramnir as well as Vos Hadun. Unfortunate for me though, Sorter missed his shots, and I did manage to get 2 shots off my heavy Stubber, but I also rolled not 2 shots, only 1 shot, and I also managed to roll an ammo roll icon on that as well. It's because I do have to take an ammo check. So for my next turn. As you can see, did manage to hit, I believe that's Vos Hadun is his name, managed to hit that guy as well put a serious injury on that dude. So that part was pretty awesome, all things considered. So for Iron Major's next activation, then activates the 8-fold Harvest Lord, who also activates the Cutter, Dredge Borsha, and once again, those guys do a double movement, moving up as quick as they can up the left-hand side of the battlefield, trying to engage my forces that are assaulting from the top. And for my next activation, they activate Reptile. Just kind of moves up his normal moon allowance directly next to that little looks to the wall there as well. So he gets back on his feet again for a simple action, takes another simple action to move as well, and that pretty much makes it both of his actions for this one. Meanwhile, Iron Major then activates Banner the Eld, who does a double movement, linking up with both the Eightfold Harvest Lord as well as Dredge Borsha, so that way they can continue their assault up the left-hand flank of the battlefield. And for my next activation, they activate Scorpion. I spend a simple action to move him up forward, and then take another basic action for him to throw a lob a fire grenade directly towards killing the Maul. I was trying to catch that guy within the blast radius by trying to catch him on the left-hand flank. Unfortunately, though, my grenade kind of bounced. I missed my shot. It bounced harmlessly over to the left-hand side, so nothing much really happened there. So that part was kind of tragic. So Iron Major then activates Killing the Maul, who decides to charge directly into Reptile, but unfortunately for him, as you can see in this photo, he just falls 1 inch short of actually connecting with Reptile and engaging in close combat as well. So that part is pretty rough for my buddy Iron Major at this point. So for my next activation, this is actually taken together after we made some back and forth action, just because most of the turn is kind of dedicated to my guys because I have more people and I can move them around. So as you can see here, both Lemonhead as well as Tetsuo, VR, as well as Mondo, they start making their way around the left-hand corner there at the top of this battlefield, making their way directly towards the Eightfold Slaughter Lord, as well as Garden Dramnir, as well as Banner the Eld. And meanwhile, across the battlefield, Sever Griel as well as Garn Dramnir, both those guys move double movements along the slag furnace there, making their way directly towards Sorter as well as Stubber, so that way they engage them in close combat. And here's the rest of the activation of my turn with VR as well as Lemonhead. Sorry, not VR, with Tetsuo and Lemonhead making their way around the corner, so that way they can start helping out Mondo with their assault directly against my opponent. And you can see VR there on the far right-hand side as well, trying to head towards the Eightfold Slaughter Lord as well as Dredge Borsha and Banner the Eld. And that pretty much makes up my last activation. So with the activation phase, or action phase over with, we go directly to the end phase. And unfortunately for Iron Major, does do an injury check for Vas Hadun. However, he is still seriously injured, so he's just laying on the ground bleeding out for the most part. And that pretty much makes up turn number 3 for this one. So here's a close overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield at the end of turn number 3. As you can see, Sever Griel as well as Garn Dramnir are moving as quick as they can across the battlefield, heading directly towards Sorter as well as Stubber. At the same time, Banner the Eld as well as Dredge Borsha and the Eightfold Slaughter Lord, Eightfold Harvest Lord, they're making their way as quick as they can at the top left-hand side of the battlefield, heading directly to my troops. As you can see, that I got Mondo, I also got Lemonhead, Tetsuo, as well as VR maneuvering there on the left-hand side of the top. I got Reptile and Scorpion assaulting from that quarter in the middle, right above the slag furnace. And of course, I got Sorter and Stubber trying to take long-distance shots directly at Sever Griel as well as Garden Dramnir. And that pretty much makes up turn number 3 on this one. So with turn number 3 over with, we go directly to the top at turn number 4, and both Iron Major and I roll for a priority to see who'll be going first. So that takes directly to the top at turn number 4, and this time the Corpse Grinder Call gets to go first, and his very first activation, Iron Major activates 2 fighters. First of all, I believe he just, sorry, not 2 fighters, just activate the 1 fighter. He activates Banner the Eld. So you can see here, Banner the Eld actually makes a simple movement across the battlefield there between the corridors outside the Tarkin area. It lands right in front of my little 3-man fire team of VR, Tetsuo, and Mondo. But the part I forgot is that this guy is packing a hand flamer, which means he gets a template attack at strength 3 directly on all 3 of my fighters, and all 3 of them get engulfed in a sheet of Promethean fire. It just kind of whips over their bodies and ignites them in flames, which is all kinds of bad because I'm right next to a pit, so when people can fall into it if they're not careful. So, oh my god, caught all 3 of my guys on fire with that one. And of course, it caused all kinds of problems. First of all, my buddy Lemonhead actually had it caught on fire, fell at his blaze template, so because of that, he does a random 2d6 movement to see exactly where he goes, and what do you know, he goes directly to the right-hand side, and he falls directly into that pit, suffering a grievous injury as well, which is all kinds of sad. To make matters worse, Mondo also fails his cool check, so he runs around the corner, I think has 8 inches, so he just sprints around the corner because he's scared out of his mind, and at the same time, Tetsuo also gets caught on fire with the blaze effect, and he has to run as well. He runs back something like 11 inches over to the left-hand side, so he is currently gone, and just like that, my top assault directly against the Prophets of Rage is now crumbling along from 1 shot from a hand flamer, which is all kinds of bad for me. Which is all kinds of good for Iron Major, but you know, that was pretty tragic for me. I seriously underestimated that character with that hand flamer. And to make matters worse, because he decided to do a little group activation real quick, as you can see in this photo, Dredge Borsha, he actually goes flying across the battlefield using that the cult icon, the corpse grinder cult icon, which adds distances to your charges. Just leaps all the way across the battlefield, goes directly into VR, hits him with that rolling dervish with that rotary flensing saw, manages to put a serious injury and a flesh wound directly onto VR, which is all kinds of bad as well. So he goes crashing the ground as well, and he's all kinds of bleeding out too, which is just kind of tragic for the most part. And then once again, all kinds of bad things happen when the Eightfold's Harvest Lord goes directly into VR. Managed to push him out of action with a coup de grace, managed to put that guy with a critical injury on VR. It's because that I will need to pay somebody in order to save my Ganger, or he just goes and dies a horrible, horrible death, which is going to be a really tough choice for me to make because VR is a level 3 Ganger. He's also kind of kitted out to kill, and I really don't want to lose that guy. He's been a really good soldier for me so far, so that part was horrible. So, wanting some payback, and then activate Reptile, who then opens up with his stub gun directly into killing the Maw. Managed to hit that guy with a dum-dum round. Managed to put a serious injury on him as well, which is all kinds of cool for me. However, Iron Major then activates Sever Greel as well as Dredge Borsha with a group activation. Both those guys go charging way across the battlefield, just running across it from the Slag Furnace directly into Stubber, as well as into Sworder as well. And the reason why they're able to do that is for one simple reason. The first one was the First Into the Fray ability, which allows this guy to get there as quickly as he possibly can. Plus, he's got the Corpse Grinder icon, which allows them to actually add movement to their charge distances. So because of that, Garn Dramnir goes directly into Stubber, and Sever Greel goes directly into Sworder as well. And we go directly into combat with that one. So Sever Greel puts a grievous injury directly onto Sworder, smashing his head in with that double-handed axe of his. And because it does a follow-through real quick in order to attack Stubber as well. By doing that, he adds some assistance to Garn Dramnir, so that way when Garn Dramnir also ends up attacking Stubber as well, he can get some bonuses in close combat. Needless to say, Garn Dramnir had no problem putting a serious injury directly onto Stubber, so Stubber goes crashing face down to the ground. He is currently bleeding out, which is all kinds of bad for my champion, because all that matters now is that Sever Greel or something the next turn can just finish him off with a coup de grace, and then Stubber will be all kinds of painful once that ends up happening. So that part was horrific, I don't mind telling you. So with the Roar of Fury, then activates Scorpion. Scorpion falls back 4 inches and opens fire with his auto gun. Managed to get off 3 shots with his Ring-Claying auto gun directly into Sever Greel, so that part was kind of cool. All 3 of my shots did manage to hit Sever Greel, which is kind of nice, but none of them wounded. So because that Sever Greel is just currently pinned, and that's pretty much the best I can do at this point. And then the Master Blaster. I call him the Master Blaster. Master Blaster goes back his normal 4-inch moon allowance, so that way he can turn to face directly into Sever Greel as well as Garn Dramnir. And once again, he cuts loose with his twin-link stub gun directly into those 2 characters right across the battlefield. And Master Blaster is in for the win. Managed to put a serious injury as well as a flesh wound onto Sever Greel, as well as managed to put a serious injury directly onto Garn Dramnir. So for the moment time being, Stubber is basically safe at this point, but it's kind of nice as well. Now, if you're wondering what that little ammo check icon is there for, what happened was I accidentally dropped that on my way to put it on Master Blaster, because Master Blaster managed to get, I think, 3 shots when he managed to get off, but one of them was an ammo check. So because that, he will need to spend a simple action to reload his twin-linked heavy stubber. So that part is not so great though. So with my very last activation, then activate Dark Lord, who basically just kind of moves up his double moon allowance in order to try to help out as best he can from my crumbling advance that's taking place here in the top portion of the battlefield. So with that being said, we go directly to the end phase, and during the end phase, you can see here, Vasadun is still seriously injured, so not much is really happening to him as he is still laying on the ground and bleeding out for the most part. And for me, the very first thing I had to do is take a bottle test, and unfortunately for me though, I failed my bottle test on this one, so because I do lose 1 point reputation, as my gang is now seriously considered actually about vacating the battlefield. Not to mention, Stubber does make a full recovery, so because he gets back on his feet again, and he also suffers a flesh wound for it. At the same time, Mondo managed to secure his panic tech on that one, so because he regained his nerve, also earns a point of experience for himself as well. But at this point though, I realized that I'm really taking a lot of damage, is not really worth the time, so because of that, We go directly to the end of the game with the Corpse Grinder getting the very first win on this one as well, netting a victory for Iron Major as well as additional piece of territory as well. Just to be honest with you guys, I'm getting my butt handed to me by the close combat effectiveness of the Corpse Grinder Gults, and I really don't want to lose more guys than I already have. I've already lost one champion. I could possibly lose a second one, which would be really bad news for me. I got a guy who's got critically injured. I got one dude on fire, another guy who's pinned. It's just all kinds of bad, and I decided to cut bait and run for it while I still can. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the post game because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, so first of all, let's talk about the jury real quick. I actually suffered 3 injuries on this one. Lemonhead suffered a grievous injury, so because he goes directly into recovery. VR suffered a critical injury, and basically I had to pay 100 credits in order to save him, and so that's exactly what I did. I paid 100 credits and saved his life, and he makes a full recovery, no problem whatsoever. However, Sorter, though, he also got an out cold result, so he's perfectly fine, but still, that part was kind of rough, having to pay money to save VR's life. For advancement, though, several members of my gang did advance. Lemonhead, he actually leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to his weapon skills, so now he's deadly in close combat. Stubber also leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to his cool, so that way he doesn't fail his bottle twirl test anymore. VR, who managed to survive, also earned +3, got leveled up to 3 as well, earning +1 to his ballistic skills, so now he's even deadlier with his reclaimed auto pistols. Mondo also leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to his movement, so now he's movement 6, which is pretty quick for a Cawdor fighter. And Sorter leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to his ballistic skill, making him even deadlier at shooting. And then Tetsuo, my Juve, leveled to level 3 as well, earning +1 to his cool. From their territories, for my settlement, I earned 1 point reputation for my settlement, as well as 50 credits. I also managed to secure 30 credits for my old ruins, as well as 25 credits for my slag furnace. For the trading post, I earned 5 credits from the scenario, giving me 110 credits in total. And from 110 credits, I spent 100 of it in order to save VR. He managed to survive no problem. And then took the 10 remaining credits I left over and put it directly into the stash. For my reputation, I earned 1 point reputation for my settlement, as well as 1 point for fighting against the Corpse Grinder cults for the very first time. However, I did bottle out, so I lose 1 point, and that brings my grand total to 33 points of reputation. My current record now is at 5 wins, as well as 4 losses, and my new gang rank now is at 2,460 points. So from there, we go directly to the Prophets of Rage. So the Prophets of Rage actually suffered 3 injuries on this one. Corolla Ilvek got an enfeebling injury, so he goes in recovery, and he's also -1 to his toughness. At the same time, Drown Ilvek also got an out cold result, so he makes a full recovery no problem. And Varsk Ilvek suffered a grievous injury, so he goes in recovery for a turn as well. For advancements, nobody in the gang advanced at this time. However, from their territories though, from their settlement, they earned 1 point of reputation from their settlement, and they also managed to recruit a brand new initiate named Orlok the Melter is his name, so they have a brand new initiate in their group. They also earned 50 credits from that settlement as well. At the same time, he also managed to capture a fighting pit, one of the brand new territories that we have broken up on our new map. So because of that fighting pit is a enhanced boon territory for the Corpse Grinder cults. They earned 2 points reputation from their fighting pit, and now they can hire 2 new scummers named Tova and Avot on their names. And both those guys are armed with stub guns with dum-dum rounds. They have mesh armor as well as mauls. From the trading post, they earned 40 credits from the scenario, as well as 50 credits from their territories, giving them 90 credits total. With their 90 credits, they purchased a hand flamer and flinching knife for Orlok the Melter. So because of that now, that guy's also packing a hand flamer, and why not? Because it worked so well for them the first time around. For the reputation, they earned 3 points reputation for their territories, as well as 2 points reputation for the scenario, giving them a grand total of 5 points reputation. The new record now is at 1 win and 0 losses, and the new gang rank now is at 1,425 points. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.